Alright, so let's say that you went through and you modeled everything you wanted and you modeled it real nice and it doesn't look scary like my guy. Okay. What you're going to want to do next is paint it. So you got to do each one individually. Each subtool that you have here has to be done. So let's start with the eyeballs because they're probably the easiest. So let's just select the eyeballs. And then what you're going to do, you're going to turn off Z add and you're going to do MRGB. Okay, that'll be material and RGB, so color. So then what we're going to do is we're going to switch from this material. And wow, that's a lot of fast shaders. I must have been making those by accident or something. From hockey that I don't know about. Anyways, we're going to do basic material 2 because that one's kind of shiny. Okay. Notice that everything, whenever you switch this, all the other ones are going to change to that as well. So we're going to go like that, and then you're going to color, and you're just going to go fill object, and that will fill this object, okay? And we're just going to go through and okay. All right. Okay. You know what? Actually, let's just leave that one alone. Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll do the shirt. Okay. What I want you to do is change from a basic material 2 to just basic material. And then think about what you want the base color of this to be. So I'm just going to give him kind of a off-color red shirt. Now you're going to notice everything changes color but the eyeballs now. Because now that those have had the material and the color filled in, those won't change, but everything else doesn't already have something assigned to it will. Then just do color, fill object, and then I'm just going to go up here. Let's, I guess, grab the pants. I'm going to leave it on basic material 2. This time I'm just going to do it kind of a blue jean color, we'll say. I don't know what color blue jeans are. I think they're a little more this way. We'll say it like that. Alright, and then we will go ahead and color and fill object. Then I'm going to go to my skin here and do skin color. Whatever fleshy color you want to do your character. I'm just going to do mine Caucasian because that's what I am. And color and fill object. And go to this one and color and fill object, which really that should probably be a shoe color, but he's going to have flesh colored stuff. Okay, so now everything's already been filled with a color. So now from there what you would do is actually just paint the stuff. So let's just do the pants, I guess we'll say. And let's turn everything else off just so it's not in the way. So you just hit these little eyeballs. This one on, just like that. Okay. Must be the other ones. Turn this guy off too. And I must still have this. Oh, I didn't do this. Oops. Let's do this one too. And color and fill object. Okay, good. Now let's go, oops, turn that guy off. Get out of here. Okay, back to the pants. So, what you're going to notice now, after that, just do RGB, because now they have the material applied. Now we just want to vary the color, okay? I'm turning this alpha off, because I don't need that anymore. And then what you're going to want to do is basically just paint it, okay? Standard brush is fine, freehand's also fine. And what it's going to do is it's going to draw based on whatever color you have here. So I'm just going to choose like a lighter, whatever, like they're faded. Now, what you're going to notice is, let's say I try to draw a thin line. You're going to see, ooh, it looks bad. Because what you're actually doing is you're painting each one of these vertices. You're changing a vertex color. And then it just blends from that vertex to the one next to it. So watch, if I stay on this line, you see it's just blending 100% from that vertex to the other color here. And it's just a gradient therein, okay? So what that means is that you need to up the resolution. So even if you're happy with the sculpt and you didn't do anything, like I obviously didn't bother with this, I'm assuming you would have a higher resolution than this. You're still going to need to go through and up the resolution enough to, so I'm just going to go up to geometry and just divide, enough to support your drawing. So you see that's probably good enough, but in this case, that's probably high enough, but it depends on, you know, how sharp you want your edges to be. But the sharper you want them, it's basically the same idea as that these would be like pixels in a raster image, okay? So I'm just going to draw this size a little bit bigger, and we'll take the intent, oh, that's the intensity. We'll take this down so I can kind of, and I'm just going to, you know, feather this on, right? Let's make the draw size a bit bigger. And I'm just going to real lightly kind of draw, you know, around the knees, usually a bit more worn. Right there is a little bit more worn. We'll put a little bit here. A little bit here, you know, definitely on the butt, right? So you typically kind of see it, pants worn like that, okay? And then you can also paint details if you wanted. So maybe I want to like go real dark, make this much tighter, maybe use sort of a tighter alpha here, and probably up the intensity here. Maybe draw like a seam or something. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You know, draw an underwear. I don't know. Whatever makes sense. Okay. But then you would basically paint it with this. So that's basic painting. Let's say you want to do like a texture on it, right? So like this looks fine, but obviously jeans have a jean texture, right? This is like just smooth one color. If that's what you want to do, what you want to go to is texture and import, and then find a picture of something you want. I think I might have jeans in here. Let's see, can I change this to small? No, that's not working. Large icons. I think I have a jean texture in this somewhere. I thought I was working on. Well, let's just say I want to put this guy on here, right, as some sort of icon. Okay, so let's say, actually, you know what? I'm gonna switch to my shirt because that'll be cooler. So let's go to the shirt. There you go. So let's say I want to put that dude on my shirt here, right? So what I would do is go again to stroke, and we want to, I'm sorry, texture, and we want to, here we are, boom, 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 select it, and then we want to turn the spotlight on. So add to spotlight, and then it'll automatically turn it on. Okay. And then basically this little thing will pop up, okay? And you can change the size and scale all through this radial menu. So if you look, this guy's too big. So I'm going to go over, where the heck is scale? Scale. I'm going to scale it down. Great. And then I can just move it over. All right. Now, Shift Z turns it on and off. So I'm just going to get him into scale here. I'm going to, oh, perspective's already off. Good. Now just Shift Z to turn it back on, and Z to turn on the menu. Z turns the menu on and off. Shift Z turns the whole thing on and off. Okay. So, oops. So I'm going to get him in position. Let's say I want to look like this. Then what I'll do is hit Z to get rid of this. And then I can just brush. Let's turn my alpha back off. I should be able to just brush. Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, I need to turn symmetry off. And, oops, Control Z, Control Z. Let's, oh, what the heck? Why are you undoing that? That was not the thing I wanted to, crap. Okay, let's put him over here. And then, let's see, do I still have... Okay, good. Symmetry's off. I want to turn that off, and then the other thing I want to do is this, just because it'll be easier to see. I'm going to go to the opacity so I can see myself painting. I'm just going to lower it. Then I'll hit Z again, and now I'm just going to brush this on, like so. And then I'll just hit Shift Z to turn that off altogether, and there's my guy on my shirt. Now, if you look, see how it looks kind of crappy? It's not just because of my picture. It's because the resolution on this shirt, I think, is not high enough. Let me see, Shift F. Yeah, so I'd have to up resolution this again. So go to geometry and then divide maybe twice. I'm going to turn that back. Oops, not Shift F, sorry. Shift Z and Z. And let's try doing this again. All right, I'll turn that back off, and hopefully this will look a little bit better. It does. Okay. There we go. A little bit more. Okay. Great. And then I'll just Shift Z. And there you go. And you can see it looks a bit better because now the resolution was high enough. Okay. So if you want to paint something specifically, you can load an image on there like that. And then voila, there you go. Now, that works fine for that. So let's look at the face. As scary as it is, it will haunt your nightmares. God, I really should have done more with that. Anyway, let's say I just want to generally paint this. So for skin, what I would suggest doing, this is just a little, go to color spray, then go to a flesh color, and then you want to brush this onto it, okay? Now you're going to be like, that looks weird, okay? It's like rainbow puke, which is fine, that's what it should be. Because if you look at your skin, there's actually a bunch of variation on it, not just one solid color. This will give us a nice variation underneath of our guy, okay? Then what I would do is go back to here and go back to just regular spray. Take the intensity really low, and then you can kind of brush over top of it where you feel like it's a little too strong to kind of bring it back some. But this way you have this underlying kind of color that should help a little bit. Okay? Alright. But the color spray it'll do a whole variance. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is show you a couple other little tips and tricks here. So let's say you want some of the crevices to be darker. You can actually do that. Let's put this back to freehand. Okay. So I'm going to choose a darker color. Right? We'll say that we'll just put this like dark color here. What I can do is go to masking. You can see, normally we hold control and we mask, but we can actually mask by these various things. So let's try mask by cavity. And then let's do less intensity. Oops, 100%. Let's try that. And then we'll hit mask by cavity. And what that's going to do is it's going to take all of the things that are recessed and actually mask them out. What I want to do is make those darker. So I'm going to hold control, click and so I invert, and then watch. When I color this in here now, okay, and you can choose how much you want to do. And then I'm going to control, click, and drag. You can see that now those have been completed. I'm just going to hold shift and blur it out a little bit because it's a little bit stark in some areas. But you can see you can kind of highlight some of those details that you actually sculpt in there by doing that, by doing the cavity. Okay. Now what we can also do, and sometimes this works okay, mask by ambient occlusion. So let's hit that. This sometimes makes it crash, or it takes a super long time. So we'll see how it does. I'm going to pause it because I don't want you to have to wait the whole time. So what that will do is sort of the same thing as the crevice. I'm going to control and tap so you can see, but it's going to be like a little bit weaker. So you can see it's going to be more in these deeper areas. So I'm just going to do the same thing we did earlier. I'm just going to paint in here. But it's going to look for cavity, like super inside things. And then I can paint that in a little bit darker. But you can see now everything's got a bit more of like a grit to it. Maybe a little too much for this guy. So some of the things I do with like faces is I will do like a lighter color. And I will make it, not that one. I'll make it pretty weak. Let's take this back down. And I will, in light areas, like things that get the sun more, I'll hit a little bit more. A little bit lighter. Okay. And then I'll do the opposite. I'll do dark, and then things that get hit by, that don't get hit the sun as much, I will do darker. So like underneath the neck, underneath the nose, I will make darker. Okay. You know, obviously in here, maybe under the brow a little bit. Okay. Inside the ear, obviously. Things like that. I just try to push that. And then because this is a face and it's skin, what I will also do is I'll do kind of a rosiness, which basically is a deep kind of orange-ish color. And I will add that to wherever would get, think about if you were cold, wherever it would get rosy. So like the lips, the ears, around the eyes here, maybe around the brows a little bit, around the tips of the ears, okay, cheekbones. Things that basically stick out a little bit more, I will add rosiness to. So now it actually makes the character even more scary because now the skin's a little bit more realistic and a little bit more frightening. But I would probably spend more time on this than what I currently did. But that's kind of how I would paint basically the head, sort of, but better, given more time. But I'm trying to do these as quick little like 15-minute snippets. Alright, so that's the basic idea of it. And then you would paint the whole character, and then that character would be good. Once you're done with that, you would save it. Control-Shift-S, and we'll do, or just Control-S, sorry. We'll just do painted guy. Good. And now I'm just going to, we need to UV it. So there's actually a way of doing it automatically. So you go to Subtool, or I'm sorry, Z plugin, not Subtool Master, and we want the UV Master. And then you just, if you hit unwrap all, it'll unwrap all of them. I'm just going to do the head. You could try to unwrap all. Usually it works, but sometimes it don't. It just means it'll do all the subtools and not just the single one that you're on. I'm going to have it unwrap just so it does just this one because it'll be quicker. So requires to be, oh, you got to be on the lowest subdivision level. Okay, let me minimize this. Take this all the way down. Come on. All right, now we'll Z plugin, unwrap. Good. Now watch this. This is what's neat. If you go down to UV map, you can hit morph UV, and you're actually going to see it unfold right before your eyes. And then you can morph back and forth. Okay, and basically you would do that with all of them. All right, and then when you're done, you're just going to go to, you'll just submit this to me. It's fine. It's good enough. But if you actually want to use it, you'd have to go to Z plugin, multi-map exporter, and you want normal, texture from polygons, and export mesh. And what you're going to do is for these settings, map size, probably 2048 is good enough. Depends on what you're making. And then export options, you can see there's ones for each one. Just normal map, make sure it's tangent. And then what it wants is when it creates the normal map, what is it basing it off of? In our case, it's going to be subdivision level 7 because that's the highest level. And then the mesh, just I'm going to have it export out a level 7. Actually, you know what? I think with the normal map, let me see. I think actually subdivision level to generate map. I don't know if I want 7 or if I want 1. You might want 1. Because obviously you're trying to go from the highest to the lowest. And then the texture map, looks like there isn't any settings for it. Okay. Then we're going to click on create all maps, and then I would just do PNGs or something like that. And that would be basically it. And then what it's going to do is it's going to export out the guy as an OBJ, as well as the textures, and you can just bring those into Maya or whatever else makes you happy. And that would be it. Huzzah!